For example, I can pick this score, right? And then tell Excel to look up for this score and tell me the name of the person that makes this score. You understand? I'll pick just a value within the row, right? And that value will be enough for me to instruct Excel to say that scan through the data set everywhere. You can see there are so many information within the data set, right? But scan through that data set and tell me the owner of this score. That is the simple meaning of what VLOOKUP talks about. Or I mean what lookup talks about, right? That's the meaning of what lookup talks about. But there are three types of lookup, right? There are three types of lookup. We have the VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP is a type of it, right? We have the HLOOKUP, right? And we have the another one that is very new. We call it the XLOOKUP, right? Now, VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP are absolutely the same thing. They perform the same task. The syntax is the same thing. The argument that it will bring to you is the same thing, right? What actually differentiates them is the arrangement of the data sets. V in the VLOOKUP stands for vertical. H in the HLOOKUP stands for horizontal, right? So VLOOKUP means vertical to a value vertically. HLOOKUP means look up to a value horizontally. All right. Now, let's say, for example, now, right, I want to pick, this is a data set, right, that I've designed for some kind of employee, right? Let's say the HR of that organizations want to, perform some kind of appraisal for the employee, right? And these are the staff, these are the employee. We have Connie Dennis, we have William Megan, we have Simpson Jimmy, and all of that, right? And this is their department, this is their scores, right? Of course, the appraisal had been done, and Connie Dennis scored 33, right? Wheeler scored 98, right? And you remember how it used to be in our school days, right? They will say if you score 33, I think in the school days it used to be if you score 40 and less than 40, right? That is F9. That word is very common to say it scores F9, right? And then between 40 to I think 49.9 or thereabout would be pass. And then from 50 to maybe 69 is C. I mean, how it was in the school days. Maybe they still use that system. I mean, that grading style now, I'm not sure. But then we have designed a scorecard here, right? We have designed a scorecard here on the screen. And on this scorecard, on this particular scorecard, we say that if it scores from 0 to less than 50, you can say that we have fail, pass, credit, and credit plus, and all of that, right? So fail is from 0 to where pass starts from. And because pass starts from 50, it means that fail ends at 49.9. So between 0 and 49.9 is fail. From 50 to 64.9 is pass. And from 65, like that, you can see the scorecard here, right? You can see the scorecard. And we have prepared a grade for the scores, right? The grade is the full word, right? Fail, pass, credit plus, good, very good, and distinction. And we have the remark for those grades. So if it is fail, if the person is fail, we call it F, right? If it pass, if it is pass, we call it D. If it is credit, we call it C. I mean, we have credit plus, C plus, and we have, if it scores distinction, that is A, right? And now what we want to do now is that, for example, now look at this guy now, right? Connie Dennis. We have this score, but we do not know what the remark is, right? From looking at these data sets now, the arrangement of the data set, you can tell just by seeing it that 33 should be failed. So Connie funny, and then is this guy actually failed. But then we don't want to write the fail. We don't write it manually. We don't write fail for this guy and write a for this guy and write maybe another A for this guy. We want Excel to look up to this figure, to this score in this scorecard and tell us the remark or tell us the grade or whatever thing we want to do. So that is lookup. That's what lookup is talking about. So we are telling Excel that pick up something. It could be this, but then we'll be using score. So pick up this score, right? And look for this score. Look for this score in this data set and tell us what the remark of this person is based on this score that he has. That is what lookup is talking about. And because this scorecard that we are using here, because it is arranged horizontally, you can see that the heading is at the top, then the other part of the information under the heading is downward. You can see that it is arranged vertically. So in this case, we'll use, if we are using this scorecard here, right, we'll use V-Lookup. That means vertical lookup. And at the same time, if we are going to be using this scorecard, they are actually the same thing, right? It's just the arrangement, like I said earlier. So if we'll be using this scorecard, and you can see that this scorecard is arranged horizontally. So if you are using this particular one, we'll use the H lookup, right? I hope you understand that. Now, let's see how it works, right? Obviously, we want to use this particular scorecard, right? So that would be VLOOKUP. So we want to pick up this score and Excel should tell us the remark of this guy here. So we want to put it here, and let's see how it works, right? Our keyword is VLOOKUP. So I'm going to say equals to VLOOKUP, right? And I'm going to call out the argument, and I'm going to call out the argument, right? Seeing all the syntax, and we can see the first argument in there, right? The first argument is lookup value, right? Lookup value. Please, am I recording? Can somebody confirm for me?
Yes, sir.
All right. The first argument in there is lookup value, right? And that is, lookup value is the single value that I want Excel to look up to and give me what I'm actually looking for. You understand? The lookup value within that range, within that row, that Excel is going to pick as a reference to look for what I want to get. And in this case, I'm going to use 33 to say, Excel, pick 33 and look for the remark of 33 within this data set, within this table array. You understand? So my lookup value is 33. So I'm going to select this 33, right? My command to go to the next argument. So it's not asking me, what is the table array, right? Table array is now where should I go and look for that value, right? So in this case now, this is my table array. I want to look for this score within this table array. So my table array is everything here, right? So I'm going to select everything here, all of them like this. I select all of them like that. All these, you can see where the line is guiding, right? It's surrounded with. You understand? So that is my table array, but I'm going to lock it so that my data is not jumping about. So I'm going to lock it, and you know how to lock. I've just done a mixed locking, right? Mixed referencing, right? That is FN plus F4 just once, right? So I'm going to say comma, right? Now, mind you, before I go to the next argument, mind you, it is not always compulsory that the table array will be excluded from the main table. It's not always compulsory. The table array can also be the main table, right? So I hope I think there are other tasks in the other sheet that will talk about that, right? But for this particular one, we have designed the table array to be outside the table, right? So that you can easily communicate what I want to communicate. All right. So the next argument is asking us, what is the column index number? And we need to really understand what this column index number is, right? If you look at the table array, on the table array, this particular table array has 3 columns, right? Which is the score column, the grade column, and the remark column. Can you see? So we are going to label these columns, the columns of the table array we are using. We're going to label it from the left to the right. And if I do that, my score column will be number 1, my grade column will be number 2, and my remark column will be number 3. Right? And then having labeled it, column index number is now asking you that what is the number given to the column that owns the result you want to get, right? What is the label? What is the number label on the column that you actually want to get your fact from, your return value from? And if you look at it, right, we're actually looking for remark, right? And remark is the third column. So if I label this 1, 2, 3, it means my column index number is 3. So if I need the grade, my column index number will be 2. But because it's the remark we are trying to get, right? So my column number will just be 3. And I'm going to type 3 in there, right? And I'm going to say comma, and it will go to the next argument. The next argument is called range lookup, right? Range lookup. Now, please, this also need attention. If you look at what we are looking up into, we're actually looking up to this table array, right? We are looking for 33 in this table array. Now, I need somebody to try to unmute and respond so that I can communicate well, right? Now, this 33 that we're actually looking for, which is our lookup value, can you see it? Can you see it inside this table array? Is 33 here? Who is that? Sorry.
Aaron.
Is 33 here? Can you see 33 inside this table array? Are we in class at all?
No, it's not there.
No,
yes.
But it has to be between 0 and 50 now.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. So that is where I'm going to. It is not there exactly, right? But we can see that it is within a range. So if your lookup value is within a range like that, right, it means that what you will select will be an approximate match. There is no exact match for it, right? So we just know that it is within somewhere in it, right? So it is an approximate match. But if what you are looking for is actually there as 33, that will be an exact match. Do you understand it now? So that's how to know the range lookup. The range lookup can either be an approximate match or an exact match. And you can see what approximate match is talking about now and what the exact match is talking about. So if it is an approximate match, for example, as it is now, the approximate match is true. So we're going to double click this and I will have true. That's even done it, right? So we're going to double click this and have true, right? So I'll double click it and have true in there, right? So I have responded to all the arguments, right? And before I do enter, this true that I have is the same thing as me typing 1. If I didn't type the true there, or I didn't double click to have true, if I still type 1 as a number 1, it will still work because 1 also stands for true in Excel. 0 stands for false. 1 stands for true. So anywhere you see 1,
please, I don't understand.
anywhere you see, all right. So just that approximate match is what you don't understand, right?
Where you get true and 1 and
yes. So this is the last place you understood. That is the column index number. You understand it to this point, right?
Yes.
So if I say comma, by itself it has gone to the next argument, which is range lookup, right? And what range lookup is talking about is that it's asking you that the number that your lookup value, which is the number you want Excel to use as a reference to look for what you actually want to return, to look for your return value, right, on this table array. That number, will you see it on the table array as exactly the number, or it fall within the range of number, right? So we are going to answer that question in your mind, right? So as you can see now, and from what I asked the other time that you responded, you see that the number 33 is not there physically. So there is no exact match. It is an approximate match. Are you there? So if it's an approximate match, this is an approximate match. So I'm just going to, is either you type true or you just double click to have the true, right? If it is an exact match, that is, you are seeing the 33 here, So you can just pick 33. You can just pick exact match, or you type false. Do you understand that?
Yes, I get it now. I
All right,
get it now.
that's fine.
Yes.
Now, I now said also that in Excel, generally in Excel, where you are supposed to use true, you can typically use 1 because 1 stands for true in Excel, right? So where you're supposed to use false, you can just put in 0 there. So it's either I double click this to have true, or I just type 1 that also means true, right? And I'm going to close this, right? So if I say enter, you can see that Excel, based on the lookup, the operation I've performed, right? Excel has looked at this 33, pick this 33, come and look for it here, and find out that the remark for that 33 is F. Can we see now? So if I drag it down, it's going to do the same thing for all of them. So 98 is A, 96 is A, and you can see 93 fall under B+, and that's why we have B+, and 91, and it has done perfectly for all of them. This is the last guy. What's his name? Carol Lisa, in Urban and Planning and Development Department, is score 21, and 21 is typically F, and we can see from the scorecard that 21 fall under F. So what we have done is called V-Lookup. And I've explained it is called V-Lookup because the table array I'm using is arranged vertically. The column edge is at the top. It's not at the side, unlike this. Do you understand it? Do you understand it?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Let's with that same explanation. Okay, let me try this also for us so that we can see it, right? And now we want to return the grade, right? Still the same scenario. We want to return the grade. So it's going to be equals to, I'm still using this table array here. So I'm going to say VLOOKUP, right? I'll call the argument. What's my lookup value? I want to look for 33, right? Comma. What's the table array? I want to look for it on this table, right? And I'm going to lock it.
Grade and mark.
Right? And I'm going to put my comma. And it's asking for column index number. Please, who will answer this? What's the column index number? I'm trying to get the grade.
2.
Sir?
2.
2. That's it. It's as simple as that. Right? Just label it from the first column to the last. And where is grade? That's 2. So, and I say comma. Now he asks me, is it an approximate match or an exact match? It's an approximate match. And I said I can use 1 also for it. So I'm not using true this time around. I'm using 1. And I'm going to close the bracket and I say enter. And you can see that it returns fail because fail. You understand? If I drag down, I'm going to have distinction for William Megan that scored 98, distinction for the person who scored 96. Very good for the person who scored 93. This is very good. You can see it's just one small thing, right? Once you understand the meaning of the argument, you'll be good to go. Right. Any question? Any question? Nobody's talking, all right?
Hello, please, can you go over it again, please?
All right.
Especially the grade side.
All right, let me do from the grade side. I'm going to cancel all of that. And let's start from the beginning.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, there is a bit of confusion at a point. Okay, so your first one, you said from the scorecard, we have score, grade, mark. Counting it in a column size. The first one is okay, if grade is 2, then
yes,
score, is it 1? Between score and mark, is it 1 and 3?
Yes, so we are labeling it from the left to the right.
Okay.
You understand? We'll label it from the left to the right. So if we label it score, we are labeling the column head, right? So score is 1, grade is 2, and remark is 3.
Okay.
We are good to go, right? So I'm going to repeat it for grade, VLOOKUP. I'm sure we understand why we are using VLOOKUP, right?
Yes.
All right, fine. So I call out the argument lookup value. That is the value that Excel is going to pick as a reference. What Excel will be looking for on that table array, right? It is a score, and that is 33, right? So next argument, table array. It is everything here, right? comma, column index number. So what am I looking for? We are looking for grade. And what is the column of grade? What's the index number that will be given to it if you label after labeling it? Obviously, it's going to be 2. I select 2, comma. Now it's asking me, is it an approximate match? That value, that 33, that lookup value, by the time you are seeing it on the table array, is it an approximate match or an exact match? Will it come out as an approximate match or an exact match? So we can say that it's an approximate match. So I can just go there to type true, right? Or I say 1, right? And I've explained that. Or I double click so that the true come up by itself. And I'm going to close the bracket and I say enter. And it gives me the fail, right? So I can say that 33 is fail because it's obviously under here, right? I can drag it down, right? Wow, why is it doing me this? All right, because I didn't lock it, right? I didn't lock it. So I'm going to go back to lock this particular argument, right? I'm supposed to lock it, and that's what I'm doing now. So let me now drag down again as well. Can we see? Do we understand it? Are we good to go?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
I want to give a task, right? So we want to do for this particular grade for HLOOKUP. So please, let's quickly attempt it in the next maybe 30 seconds. It's a very short one, right? Please, let's attempt it. I mean, let me just give us a head up, right? That obviously, because it's asking for a grade on the HLOOKUP, so we can't use this table array. We have to use the table array that support HLOOKUP. And my keyword will not be VLOOKUP again. It's going to be HLOOKUP, and we can respond to every other argument that's there. Let's do that. Who is done? Are we there? Is anyone done?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you get it?
Yes, I got it.
All right, that's fine. Thank you. Any other person? I need one more person. So I'm just going to do it on the screen. We have equals to HLOOKUP now, right? Same argument, right? 33. What's the table array? This time around, this will be my table array. This will be my table array, right? To this place. And I'm going to lock it, right? Comma. Row index number, right? Now, this time around, it's not asking column index number. It's not asking row index number because I'm using the HLOOKUP. And grade that I'm looking for is on row 2. This is going to be row 1, row 2. So I have 2, and then my range lookup will still be approximate match, and that's all. So if I do it, I still have the same answer. I'll drag down, right? I hope we are good to go. Are we good to go?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Now, like I said, there are 3 types of lookup, right? We have looked at 2. And because those 2 they are just the same thing. It's just the arrangement of the table array that's different, right? Now, the third one is quite, is quite different, right? We call it the XLOOKUP. XLOOKUP is part of the Excel version 2019 upward, right? So if your Excel version is less than 2019, you will not have XLOOKUP on it, so you may not bother, right? But then it's still, you can just see how it works pending the time you upgrade your Excel, right? So it's simple. XLOOKUP, just put the keyword, but you need to pay attention to the argument, right? We're going to say equals to, right? Equals to XLOOKUP. Call it out. Now, the first argument is still lookup value, which is still 33, right? Which is still 33. Is now asking, what's the lookup array, right? That is, where should I look up into? Where is the table array that I should look up into, right? Now, this time around, our aim is different. It's not, we are not interested in getting the grade this time around, because so this time around, we want to know the employee that owns this grade, right? We know it's Konyama actually, but then we want Excel to get it for us. So who is the employee that owns this grade? We're not using this external lookup array, right? So who owns this grade? Who owns this grade? So it means that in this case, my lookup array would be, because I'm still using this table, I'm not using this one again. So my lookup array this time around would be this from here, like this, right? Because that's the existing table that we are working with, and like that downward. So this is my lookup array, right? I'm not using this scorecard now. What I want to get now is the employee who owns this 33, right? So lookup value is 33. That's what I'm going to use to search, right? Lookup array, on what table will I get what I'm looking for? On what, array of table arrangement, on what table will I get what I'm looking for? It's going to be on this table, not on this table, because it's the employee name that I'm looking for, right? So I'm going to say comma. It's now asking me return array. That is, return array is asking me what column. That's what return array is what looks like column index number when you're using VLOOKUP or XLOOKUP or HLOOKUP. So the meaning is that what I want to get, right? Where is the column? What I want to get, that's what I want to return. What I want the Excel to return. Where is the column? That is the return array, right? And because I'm actually looking for the employee, I'm looking for the employee that owns this core. I'm looking for the employee that owns this core, right? It means that my lookup array would be I'm gonna repeat. So it means that my lookup array would be this particular employee table, employee column. So I'm going to select all of them like that. That is my lookup array and lock it, right? So the locking is very important when you are dealing with multiple, large data sets, so that you don't get error. You can see the other time when I didn't lock, I began to get error there. And that's why we need to talk about self-referencing earlier before getting to this point, right? So I've selected my lookup array and I've locked my return array rather, and I've locked it. Then I'll say comma, right? Now, if you look at the next argument, look at the bracket covering it. You remember what I said? What I said regarding that bracket, that is not compulsory. If the data set, if the argument is enclosed in that kind of brass bracket, it's not compulsory. You can leave it, right? But what is actually asking you is that if I didn't see what I'm looking for, if it is not there, if it is not in that lookup, in that return array, if it is not there, what should I do? That's what it's asking you. That if not found, what should I do? So you can write another word to say, if you didn't find it, just give me a word. We can just say, if you didn't find it, return, write for that on that row, on that row, write not found, right? Not found, right? And you know why I'm keeping it inside the double apostrophe? Because it's a text that I'm writing by myself. I'm not selecting it. It's not a number, and I'm not selecting it from any cell, right? So I'm saying that if you didn't see it, if you didn't see what I'm supposed to get, right, just write not found, right? And you can also leave it unattended to, and you can say comma. Is asking you now what the match mode, what I'm looking for, is it an exact match or an approximate match? And you can see that what I'm actually looking for in this case is an exact match, right? This is 33, right? And I'm looking for the employee that scored this 33. So it's not an approximate. The employee that scored it is Coniam Dennis. So the value of it, the information about that guy is an exact match. The name is exactly there. So I'm going to select exact match, which is 0, right? Which is 0, and say comma. So it's asking search mode. All of these are not compulsory. We have talked about them. They are not compulsory because they are kept in that kind of bracket. So I don't feel like responding to the other ones. I'm just going to close the bracket. And if I say enter, it's going to give me, okay, it's giving me error. So let me take all of these away because they are not compulsory in the first place. So I'm going to take all of that away, right? And let's say enter, right? Oh, I still have that error. So let me quickly look at what is happening.
I think that A should be inside the apostrophe.
That what? That what?
A. Shouldn't it be inside the apostrophe?
I'm not seeing any A, but let's start again. Let's start that again. Equals to X lookup, right? Lookup value is 33, right? Comma. Lookup array is this, right? And I'm going to lock it, right? Comma. Return array. Sorry, return array, not lookup array. Sorry. Lookup array is everything, right? So I'm going to select everything like this from here to down, right? And I'm going to lock it. That's my lookup array. Then, comma, return array. So I want to see everything here, right? This is my return array, right? And I'm going to lock it, right? Comma, and then that's going to be the end. So I can stop here and say enter. Wow, still giving me that. Okay, let me change this to A4, right? And this also A4, right? To that, and I say enter. Okay,
Are we supposed to pick the employee name, department, and score?
yeah, that's why I changed it to A4 actually, but it's not supposed to mean anything. Let's just look at it. All right. Lookup array. Lookup array. Okay. What if we use this as the lookup array? I lock it, right, comma, so return array. So let's say I'm looking for the grade. So I make this be my return array. I lock it, right, that's end. Okay, so I really don't know why it's giving us the error, right? Actually, value error means that there is a particular data set that is wrongly typed, right? So there is a particular data set and there's a particular data that is wrongly typed, right? And because I'm not typing anything manually, right? That's why I'm not really convinced that I should be having that error. So let's try for the last time. If it didn't work for the last time, we move on. All right. Lookup value, right, is this, right? That's our C4. Lookup array. Lookup array. That's the table, right? Which is all of these. So let me pick it. Let me just pick it from here. See everything down. That's our lookup array, right? I need to lock it and then return array. I'm trying to get these the name of the employee, right? So I'm going to say down and I'm going to lock it, right? And then finally, I'm not using all these ignore fonts. So I'm going to close the brackets and say enter. All right, so let's leave it. We'll treat it later. But then there are things to understand between VLOOKUP, between V or H lookup and X lookup, and another one that we are supposed to talk about in the next sheet that we are going into, right? There are limitations.
I want to ask a question. Sorry, before we leave
All
the
right.
XLOOKUP.
All right.
You explained that the VLOOKUP is when it is vertical, and the
Yes.
HLOOKUP is when it is horizontal. What of
Yes.
the XLOOKUP?
So XLOOKUP, right? It works on both axes, right? If you use it for vertical, it will work. If you use it for horizontal, it will work, right? But basically, what brings the idea of XLOOKUP is this, right? And I'm going to explain. Now, for VLOOKUP or HLOOKUP, right? For either of the two, there is a limit. If you look at this table array, you will find out that this table array is on the right of our actual lookup value. These are lookup value, right? These are lookup value. Table array is on the right. Now, VLOOKUP or HLOOKUP is designed such that, because when you tell Excel that pick this value 33, this lookup value, and scan it on the data set, it will scan from left to right. Are you following me? It will scan from left to right. So which means that if I'm picking it from here and it's supposed to scan from left to right, right? Look at it. It cannot, if I pick it from here, it will not be able to scan from this place, from this particular column, because we are saying that start counting from here, because this is where I've picked my lookup value from. So if it needs to count from left to right, it means that it will start counting from here to this place. So if I actually want to use this same VLOOKUP to return the employee who scored this grade, right? Which is what I wanted to use for XLOOKUP. If I want to use VLOOKUP to return the employee who scored this grade, who scored 33, I'm not using this one, this particular. Okay, let me put something here. Let me add a new cell somewhere here, right? And let me call this place. Let me call this one employee, right? So I want to know the employee who scored this 33, right? Using VLOOKUP now. Usually based on what we've talked so far, my function should be like this: VLOOKUP, right? Lookup value is 33. Table array, because I'm not using this again. I want to know who scored this 33, which is supposed to be Cunningham, right? So my table array will be this table array that we are talking about, we are working with. So I'm going to pick it from here and say to this place, right? And then maybe this will not be there because at that time that is not there. Let me start again, right? I'm going to select all of these and stop here and select it down. That is my table array, right? And I'm going to lock it, right? I've done that, and it's now asking me, sorry, let's start again. What is my lookup value first? My lookup value is 33, comma. My table array would be all of these down, and I will lock it, comma. And my column index number, because this is what I'm looking for, right? I'm going to label it from the left, 1, 2, 3, right? So my column index number is 1 because I'm actually looking for the employee name, right? So column index number is 1, right? And then my range lookup will be exact match because what I'm looking for is it matches 33 exactly, right? I'm going to have exact match, right? And if I do this, this is a correct function, but this will not give me a right answer, right? This will not give me a right answer. And if I say it's giving me non-appear NA error, non-available, not available error, right? And the reason is what I was explaining. It is because the lookup value, right, is on the right of what or on the right, right? It is on the right of the return value. And then VLOOKUP is designed to scan. When using VLOOKUP, Excel is commanded to pick up that lookup value and scan the whole data set, the whole table array, right? And look for the match, the return match, right? And when it's going to scan, it's going to start the scan this, and it cannot start anywhere later or anywhere further than where the lookup value is starting from. So if the lookup value is starting from here and it needs to scan from left to right, it's going to scan from here to this place. So there's no way to have come to scan anything on the left. Do you understand it? So that's why when we use VLOOKUP to calculate this employee name who's called at the 3, it will not work. It's not seeing it, right? It's not seeing it at all. Any error means that the value is not available. So this employee name is not available because it's not even scanning through this area. If I check for department also, I will not see it because the scanning starts from this point where the lookup value starts from, and it's scanned to the right. You understand? So alternative to that is where the XLOOKUP now comes in. So with the XLOOKUP is not bounded by a kind of arrangement or how to scan. It can scan left, and right. You know, remember x-axis and y-axis, right? Is like a third dimension rather. If V is representing the vertical and H is representing the horizontal, right? X is going to be like the third dimension. Remember mathematics when we have X, Y, and there's a Z axis that talks about, you know, the 3D shape. It's something like that, right? So this one has the ability to scan everywhere. You understand? So I expect the XLOOKUP to also work anyway, but I'll look at the reason why it's not possibly not working. And maybe we'll also talk about it in the next class, right? So that is the modality between X and V or H lookup. I hope you understand it.
Sorry, before you leave, yeah, I understand it. So
all right,
before you leave the V and X lookup now, does that mean that for those that the Excel is not updated up to maybe like the newer versions,
XLOOKUP is not there.
Since that means we cannot solve this particular kind of problem, or is there another way to solve it?
No, there is one more function in the next sheet, right? I'm going to talk about.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So there are 2 ways that Excel has provided to do it. Now, the XLOOKUP is the solution that Excel has provided, as preferred for that problem, right? But before that XLOOKUP, there's a way people just combine, you know, professionalism together and achieve what they want to achieve, right? And that is when we get to this next. I hope we understand this part, the XLOOKUP and the VLOOKUP. We'll talk about XLOOKUP. We'll review XLOOKUP again. I hope you understand it. I hope we are good to go to the next sheet.
We're good to go, sir. We're good to go.
All right, sir. So we have if you look at this area, there is one other function here, and that is what I said that people find a way, you know, to combine to bring that function up and use it for what they want to do. It is called the index match function, right? And I'm going to show you how the index match function works, right? Now, index match function is a combination of 2 functions. There is one we call index function, and there is one we call match function, right? And they will later combine it to form the index match function. So for us to be able to use the index match function, we need to understand what the index function is trying to achieve and what the match function is trying to achieve, right? But before we go straight into them, let's look at this scenario we have on the screen, right? We have a data that shows some kind of branch managers, the performance of some branch managers in a bank. Let's call it ABC Bank, right? And these are the bank managers. These are their targets, YTD turnover. That is for the year to date. That's what YTD means. YTD means year to date, right? So for the year, they are expected to meet a target of 46,000. I wouldn't know if this is Naira or we make it dollars, right? Because 46,000 is not a target, right? The branch manager will just get annoyed and just pick it from the salary and pay, and he has met the target for the year, right? So, let's say he has a target. He has a budget. He has a target of 47,474, of the currency. But at the end of the day, he achieved 46,000. Can we see? He has a budget. That's the target. The budget is the target, right? He has the budget of 47,474 of the currency. And at the end of the day, he was able to make a turnover of 46,000. Does it meet up the budget or not? Obviously, no, it does not meet up, right? So we can see the variance here, and you can see that it is a negative variance, right? That is, he has 1,474 of the currency to meet up, right? So he has a budget of this, he made this, he didn't meet up, right? And then the variance is this. That is, he has this amount to catch up with. Now, we have made the remark for him to say that if he didn't meet up, let's call it adverse, right? If he meet up on dot, he just meet up that same amount. Let's call it break even, right? Let's call it break even. And if it surpass, let's call it favorable, right? And then we'll now use the if function that we talked about in the last class to generate the remark, right? And you can quickly look at it, right? If D4, where is D4? That is the variance is equal to 0. Don't forget that the variance will be equal to 0 if the budget and the YTD turnover are the same thing, right? That is, this guy is supposed to make 47,474, and he actually made 47,474 here. So it means that the variance will be 0, right? This place is this minus this, right? Budget, turnover minus budget. So if it is 0, it means that he actually meet up. We now say if D4, which is this area, is equal to 0, that's our logical test. Then what should happen? Value if true. Call it break even, right? Value if false, because we have another thing, right? We now say, okay, let's create another logical test. If that value if 4 is that the value is greater than 0, let's call it favorable. And if it is not even up to that, let's call it adverse. That's what we have used to get all this, all this stuff we have here, right? Now we have done that. Now we now see that this guy, Ayo, didn't meet up, so it's adverse. Tolani surpassed. He was supposed to get 36,363, and at the end of the day, he made 64,644, and the variance is 28,000 plus. He has done a very good job, so it's favorable, right? And all of that. Now, I want to use VLOOKUP. Don't forget the limitation of VLOOKUP that I explained before jumping to this cell. So I want to use VLOOKUP to know how should we put it now? I want to use VLOOKUP to know the branch manager that owns this remark. You understand? This particular adverse remark, whose branch manager owns it? I know it's IO, but then I want to use VLOOKUP to get the IO, right? Don't forget that as you are seeing it now, okay, let's start VLOOKUP, right? And you can see what's my lookup value. This is what I want to use to look for what I need to look for my return value, right? So my VLOOKUP is this very particular guy, adverse, right? Comma, what is the table array? Table array is everything, right? That's my table array. Let's lock it, right? Comma, and what's the column index number? The column index number will be the column index, the number of what I'm looking for, what I want to return at the end of the day. And I want to know the branch manager that owns this remark. which is IO, right? This is the column for the branch manager. And you can see that it has been labeled 1 already. So column index number is 1. Can you see? Then comma. Now, is it an approximate match or an exact match? Obviously, it's an exact match because the IO is fitting it for adverse directly, right? Now, from what I have explained earlier, if I say enter here, I'm not supposed to get this result. It's supposed to give me an NA error, right? It is supposed to give me an NA error. And the reason is what I've explained is because the lookup value, which is adverse in this case, is on the right of my return array, which is not supposed to be, right? Because by the time Excel want to begin to scan now using VLOOKUP, it will scan from left to right, and it's going to start from where the lookup value is. So it's supposed to scan from left to this place. So it will not see anything behind lookup value. So at the end of the day, it will write that no number is not available, which is NA, right? So if I say enter, I'm not supposed to get this, right? But I'm going to do the same activity. I'm going to perform the same activity with index match, and I will get it. So just to justify that index match will work in a case like this. But now we've seen that VLOOKUP does not work. That's the reason why I have VLOOKUP here, just to show you that VLOOKUP cannot perform that task with the reasons I've explained. Now, this is index match, which I'm going to use. But then before then, let's understand what index and match function is. Both of them, we are going to use them as a nested function. And I explained nested function I was doing if function, right? To say that if you are using two functions together in one statement, it's going to be, we call it nested function. If the both functions are the same thing, for example, in that case where we use if and if, right? As in how it is used here, if and if. So this will be called nested if, right? But if the function, the keyword are different, so we'll just call it nested function, just like that. All right. So what is index function talking about? Right now, let me put in index. Right now, the index function, please just give me a few seconds. All right, sorry. So the index function is used to, for index function, you will tell Excel, right? You will tell Excel, you will specify a data set for Excel, right? You tell Excel a data set, and then Excel will tell you the position of that data set. Are you with me? I'm trying to let you see what index function stands for. In using index function, we are going to specify a particular position for Excel. We'll specify a position for Excel, and Excel will tell us the number, the value in that position. This is what I mean. I don't know, let's say I don't know the value here. I can say it's IO, but then let's just assume that I don't know that it is IO that is here, for example, right? And I want Excel to tell me the name that is in this cell, right? So it means that I will have to provide some information for Excel, right? To say, okay, look at this column and this row, right? Or look at this data set, look at this table array, something like this. Look at this table array. Now, in this table array, note this row and note this column. Now, when you have that information, tell me the cell, right? The value in that particular cell that I've given to you. You understand? That is index. So it means that for index function, we are going to give some, we are going to tell Excel some criteria, right? And Excel will use the criteria to tell us the value that fits that criteria. We are going to provide a position for Excel, and Excel will tell us the value in that position. That is index function. And let's see how it works, right? Let's say how it works. So equals to, if I say index and I call it, you can see it's already asking me the first argument. What is the array, right? What is the array, right? So for the array, I can pick everything here, right? Like this. This is the table array. Maybe I just lock it so that I don't have issue, right? If I just lock it and I say comma, it's asking me what is the row number, right? You can see I'm providing position to Excel. What is the row number? So if I pick all of them, you can see that the row number here is, now if I'm picking from here, you can see I'm picking from here. I'm not picking from here. So the row number will be, this first one will be the row 1, and higher will be row 2. Assuming I'm picking from the top now, this is row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4. But you can see where I'm picking my data, my table array from. My table array is starting from here, like this. So it means that my column 1 is this heading, and my column 2 is, my row 1 is this heading, and my row 2 is where this higher is. So it's asking me what's the row number. Row number is 2, right? And because I pick all the data set, all the array, it means that it will definitely have column number. And it is because higher, and because I want to return higher, so higher is under this particular column, which is column 1. So my column number will be 1. You understand? So if I close bracket and say enter, it's going to return higher for me. And you can see what happened. I provided the table array, and I tell Excel to look at this row and this column and tell me the value that is in that row and column. Do you understand it? So for index function, we will provide some criteria. We'll provide the row and the column for Excel, and Excel will tell us the value in that row and column. That's what index function is talking about. Now I'm going to do it again here, but this time around, just to make us understand one more thing, right? Look at this, what I'm doing now. I'm saying index, I call the argument. I call out the argument. Now look at it. I'm not going to select everything as the table array. I'm just going to select everything here. You can see what I select here as the table array. In this case, right, I select only one row, only one column. And because I've selected only one column, if I go to the next argument, is asking me what is the row number, right? So I'm working with this row. So my row number will be, this one is the first one, and this one will be the second one, right? So my row number is 2. In this case, I don't need column number because I didn't select it all through. I only selected the row. So if I say enter here, it will give me that same IO. If I come there to come and be saying that I want to add a column number, to say what will be the column set. Maybe I just want to put 1. Maybe it can work with 1, right? It can work with 1, but ideally there's no many column. So if I go and say that maybe column 3, and this is column 3, maybe I'm expecting I to return this guy here because this is column 3. It won't return, to give me an error. You understand? Because I'm only working with, when I'm to select the array, I selected only one area. I hope you understand that. So, but in the case of this particular one, you can see that what I selected is all of them. And because I've selected all of them, I'll be able to provide the row number and the column number to get my index. I hope you understand. So come again to summarize what index function is talking about. Index function means that you are instructing Excel to return the value in the position you have given to Excel. You will give Excel the position, and it will tell you the value in that position. I hope that is clear. Now, let's come to match function. Match function is the direct opposite of the index function. Match function is the direct opposite of the index function. Now, recall for index function. Excel will return a value after you have provided positions. In match function, you will provide a value. You will provide a value, and Excel will return the position of that value. In index function, you provided position, the row and column, and Excel return the value in that row and column. But in match function, you will provide the value, the name they are looking for, and Excel will provide the row and column of it. You understand? But basically, it works for one. It may not be able to provide the row and column. It's not able to provide row and column. So if you are working with row, it will provide the row only. If you are working with column, it will provide the column only. So you need to understand that. So let's say how it works. Equals to match. The keyword is still match, right? And I say match. So it's already asking me what is the lookup value, right? So it is this IO that I want to look up into. I want Excel to tell me the position of that IO, right? You can see that in this case, I'm giving the value to Excel. I'm giving out the value to it. So I say this is the lookup value, which is IO, right? And I say comma, so it has gone to the next argument. Say lookup array. Where does it want it to look? Where should it look up into, right? And I'm saying look up into all of this column, right? Let me lock it to be on the safer side. Look up into all of this column. That's my lookup array, comma. Is now asking me, that IO, is it an exact match? Of course, it's obviously an exact match. It will always be an exact match, right? So I say exact match. And if I close this bracket and say enter, it's going to return the position of IO for me to say that IO is on row 2. Can you see? Because I selected from here down. So this heading is 1 and IO is 2. IO is row 2. Do we understand index and match function before I join it together in index match function? Do I need to
Yes, sir.
come again? Anybody talking? Am I free to?
The index is okay. The match is why
Okay.
I don't understand the match.
Okay, so I'm going to come again with the match, right? The index is okay in that we are saying that we provided position for Excel, right? If you look at the arguments, if you look at the syntax, you will see that it first of all asks us what is the table array, right? You can see the array here. See, forget this one on down that has reference, right? It's still the same thing. It's only using another word, right? Where we use array is providing reference. It's still the same thing. So that's why I'm keying on the one, I'm using the one above, right? Now we say that for index function, we'll tell Excel the table array that we want to work with, which is everything, right? We'll now go ahead to tell Excel the row and column. And then row and column are talking about position, right? That's position. If you remember this name box, you know, how the cells are named is named based on the row and the column, right? So we provide the row number, we provide the column number, and Excel will tell us the name in that position. And that is how we got IO here, right? Now, I said match function is the direct opposite. And here we will provide the name itself, right? We can provide the name as IO. We can provide the name as IO, right? But then, you know how we've been working, instead of writing the IO directly, we'll just come and pick the cell. So we'll provide the name and Excel will tell us the position of that name. Now, I've also gone ahead to say that using match function cannot provide two things for us. It cannot provide rows and columns at the same time for us. So assuming it can provide rows and columns, we would have had something like this. It means that it is possible for us to have something like this, where we can now say that this is row 1, column 1. You understand? Or row 2, column 1. You understand? But it cannot provide both row and column name at the same time. It can only provide row name at once, or column name at once. So we need to be specific on what we are trying to get. So using that, we're going to, let's see how it's now work. So I write the match function. It's now asking me, don't forget that match function, you will tell Excel the name and it will tell you the position of that name. So it's asking me what is the lookup value? That is the name I'm looking for. Then I pick this. I can as well come to write it as word to say IO. You understand? So I want Excel to tell me the position of IO. Where should we look it for? I'm saying that look for it on this column, right? And I'm going to lock it, right? And then goes to the next argument. It's asking me, of course, it's an exact match, right? And I'm going to close it and I say enter. You can see it still gives me the IO. You understand? Do you understand it now? And at the same time, if I'm not typing the IO, I can also come and pick it directly from here and I'll still get my answer. You understand? So the key summary, the explanation is that we are providing a name within the data set. Within the data set, we are providing the name for Excel. And Excel will now tell us, the position of that name. Do you understand it?
Sorry,
now?
what if there is more than one IO? If there are maybe 2 or 3 IOs,
Yes.
that's
which is the reason why it is advisable not to write it like this. Not to write it like this. Because in this case, it will confuse. It will be confusing for Excel because if there are so many names, it won't know whether to pick this IO or another IO that's somewhere here. But if you select it directly from here, you can agree with me that the two IO are not sharing the same cell name. So it is only this particular IO that is on A4. If I need to talk about the second IO, maybe somewhere here, then if I select A, that will be maybe A16, so which is not this one. So this one will make it unique. Do you understand it?
I understand it. I was thinking that if you, instead of selecting, if you wrote IO and then there were now like 2 or 3 IO, instead of selecting the box.
That's why I don't advise that. If it's something you can pick, I always don't. You can say that what I've been doing since the beginning of class, I don't prefer, I don't like to write what I'm looking for manually because it can also confuse us later. You understand? So that's why I always
the data
advise.
set you gave us as assignments, there were thousands and thousands and
yes, we're still going to create, maybe because that particular data set, I'll create a particular class to treat it. Maybe after we are done with this class, the next Thursday, which is a 2 hours class, we'll use it to treat that assignment because we really need to talk about that assignment because I gave that assignment intentionally. So we need to talk about it. So I'll spend time with the assignment for us. Can you understand?
All right.
All right, sir. So now I've explained index function and match function. Now let's now see how the index match function will now help us to do what VLOOKUP cannot do. Don't forget that XLOOKUP will also do it, but then XLOOKUP was fumbling when we tried to use it. We'll try to fix that and come back to the class to talk about it. But let's see index function now. Let's see how it works for index function. Now, the first thing that you should note is that there is nothing like index match function. There's nothing like that. You can see that it's not bringing anything for us, right? So the way to go about it is to start with index function. You understand? Now it's asking us, what is the table array? Don't forget that what we want to achieve, let's talk about what we're trying to get again. We want to get, don't forget how we did this, right? We want to get the owner of this remark, which is IO anyway, but we want to get the owner of this remark, of this adverse. So let's start again. So it's asking us, we're going to start with index function, and it's asking us, what is the table array, right? So the table array is everything. I lock it, comma. Now, the next thing is asking us is, what is the row number? You understand? What is the row number? That is the row number of what is the row number of this particular adverse. But instead of me to supply the row number, I will not supply it directly. You understand? I will not supply it directly. The row number is supposed to be the row number of what I'm expecting, which is IO, but I will not supply it directly. I'll go and use the match function to supply it. So where I'm supposed to type the row number, I will just type match, right? Match, and I'll call out the argument. And it's now asking me, what is the lookup value? You understand? What is the lookup value? That is the row that I actually want to bring down. What is the lookup value in that row, which is adverse, right? It is adverse I want to use to return IO, right? Comma, what is the lookup array? Lookup array is that adverse, where should Excel lookup into to return the value? This is the lookup value. So lookup array is now asking, what is the array where the lookup value is? Do you understand it? What is the array where the lookup value is? Sorry, I think there's a mistake somewhere. My lookup value should be IO, right? And it's now asking me, what is the lookup array, which is supposed to be everything A, right? And I'm going to lock it, right? And it's asking me, is it an exact match or an approximate match? Usually it's used to be at all time an exact match, right? Now, I'm done with that particular argument. Now, if you look back to this place, it has responded, I'm done with this row number. which is the reason why I use the match function, right? Now, I can now come back to say comma, so that I can now have the last argument. It's now asking me, what is the column number? I mean, the column number of what I'm trying to return. And of course, the column number is still 1, right? And that marks the end of that argument. I close it and I say enter, and it gives me the IO. I now need to explain this again. So you can see that what couldn't work when I use VLOOKUP, index match has returned it, right? But then, is it clear? Do I need to look at it again?
Yes.
Yes.
Look at it again. I know I will look at it again. All right, let's go. So I said that index match function is combining the index function and match function together. We have looked at what each of the functions actually mean. For index function, we tell Excel, we provide a position, some kind of position for Excel, and it will tell us the name in that position, the position we're giving to Excel. Match function is the direct opposite. We'll tell Excel a name, right? A name. We can type it manually as we are saying it, or we go and select the cell where that name is resided, right? And Excel will now tell us the position, right, where that name is within the data set or within the array, the table array that we provided. So that's what the two of them is talking about. Now we have a task to find the branch manager's name that owns this particular remark, which is adverse. You understand? So this is what, in this case, we are not really, don't put your mind, we know that adverse is the lookup value now. This is supposed to be the lookup value, but don't put your mind on a particular way to say this is going to be a lookup value. Just follow, my explanation. So we want to get the branch manager that owns this adverse, right? So I want to use the index function. Don't worry, it is the index match function, but then take it the way I'm saying it, right? I'm explaining it. Just follow me. I want to use the index function. And what will index function do? Don't forget that for index function, I will provide a position and it will tell me the name. You understand it? That's what index function do. And what am I looking for? I'm looking for this name, the name that owns this guy. The name that owns this guy. So it means that for me to get the name that owns this adverse, I will just provide the position. I'll find a way to tell Excel the position of this IO, and it will bring it for me. You understand? And what function do I need to will I use to tell Excel a position before it give me a name? That is the index function. Do you understand? So I'm going to use the index function. And then if you put in the index function, the first argument is array, right? What is the table array that we actually want to talk about in the whole of this thing? That is everything. This is all the table array, right? So this has no issue. Now, don't forget that in index function, you will provide the table array. You now provide the position, right? The position in row and in column. It is in match function that you cannot provide, that you cannot expect row and column at the same time. But in index function, after providing the table array, you will also provide the row, you also provide the column, and it will tell you the value in that area you have provided. Okay, I know you are getting it gradually. Now, I have provided the table array, all of them. The next thing will be to provide the row number. Do you understand it now? So I'm actually trying to get IO, right? So the row number of IO, I don't want to type it as directly as it is. You understand? So because the match function is also used to provide a row, a position number, you understand? When you're providing a row number, we're actually trying to provide the position so that at the end of the day, Excel will tell us the name in that position. And we know that when we use match function will return position for us. So instead of writing the position manually, instead of telling the position, to the index function, I will now use the match function to call out the position, the position for the index function. You understand? So I introduce match function. Match function. Right? And match function, the first argument in the syntax is lookup value, right? So lookup value is now what I'm actually, looking up into, right? Because it is position that I'm looking for now. This is not the lookup value now. I've gone past this one. So lookup value is now the position that I'm trying to call out. Where is the position? Is under this IO. So this is my lookup value, right? And then lookup array, that is that lookup value. What is the array? Under what array is it? It is under this. I'm going to select everything and I'm going to lock it, right? And the next argument after that is actually, is it an exact match or an approximate match? Obviously, it's an exact match, which is 0, right? So I'm done with that particular argument. And all of this is just to replace the row number. It's just to bring out the row number. You understand? So I've done that. I've brought out the row number. Even though you're not seeing it, you are not seeing it as in whether it is 1 or 2. But then that is what all this match function, that's what it is representing. You understand? So I will now say comma. It will now go to the next argument. This is now the next argument for index function. I am back to the index function. I have closed the match function here, right? This is where the match function stops. I have returned to the index function. So the last part of the index function is to provide the column number, which is column 1 for what I'm looking for, right? And if I close it, it's going to return IO for me. Question?
Yes.
Question?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I was wondering the match function. When you started with the index function,
yes.
And now when you got to the position, instead of writing IO, instead of putting the position that's on the is on row 2 now, on that position, instead of putting
position on row 2, yes.
Instead of putting that position, you now entered into match function.
Yes.
And that match function, if you had done it on its own, it will still give you that same 2.
Thank you.
It will still give you that same 2. So what's the essence of taking a long journey to get the same 2 that you'll have just put it there? I'm trying to find out why the index, the match function has to come in between. Since it's that same 2, we could have just put that same 2 and we still get to the same IO. Yes. Does it mean that if we do not put the index
very likely to, yes, you would be wondering. It is easy to ask now because all the information we are dealing with, they are within this data set. They are within this single table, right? But if I'm to have maybe the return array in another table like this, just like we had in the case of when we're doing VLOOKUP like this, right? It will not be easy for me to now pick that same value. There will be issue. I don't know if I'm speaking this well, right? So if I'm to pick, you see that the table I'm referencing, they are all within one area, right? They are all within one area. But if this my return value, right, that is under this branch manager is not on this table at all, right? So in that case, you will see that I cannot just come here and say I want to pick it because the position will be very far from this area that we are. So if you do it that way, if we didn't take our time to merge, the understanding of index and match function together, right, it will be difficult to understand in that regard, right? So it's a pity I don't have a direct example that has it on another table. Maybe that's what I'm going to include in that extra class, maybe that next week Thursday class, where I will now come back to talk about why X function is not really working. Maybe I'll have to include that. I'll create a table and share with us and quickly use that to explain that, right? But then the good thing now is that you have understood how, the index match actually combine. So you can see that it's almost just like the same thing, right? Where we are supposed to use the match, the position, we only use match function to bring out the position for us. You understand that? And that is fine. Do you understand the point where we are?
Yeah, very clear, very clear.
All right. Any other question from another person? Thank you, Brewinger, for really following. Another question? All right. So if you didn't ask question, then we can move. We can't move. This is 2153, right? We can't move. So this is at least we have talked about everything we have talked about around VLOOKUP, right? For today, they are around VLOOKUP, the VLOOKUP, the XLOOKUP, and the VLOOKUP, the HLOOKUP. When the H and X are not working, what should we use? We're going, when the V and H are not working, what should we use? We're going to use the XLOOKUP, right? And then it's not only XLOOKUP, we have another one that we can use elsewhere, which is the index match function, right? Well, fortunately, our XLOOKUP did not really comply with what we intend to get. So let me quickly try it again also to see if I can be lucky this time, right? I really don't know why it's not getting it. So we're going to stop the class around here. I'm going to say, let me try this. After this, maybe we'll look for some other questions, right? Within the next 6 minutes, and then we'll close the class, right? XLOOKUP. Why is XLOOKUP not looking up? All right, so lookup value. I use this, comma, lookup array. Lookup array is okay. Lookup array is yeah. I think I'm the one who didn't get something, comma. Return array is now this, right? Lock it. That's all. It's correct now. All right, it's correct now. So let me quickly take my time to explain it. Are we in class? Are we good to go?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, sir.
We're
So
now
we want to use XLOOKUP. So now we'll be able to use, we want Excel to pick up this value, right? And scan through, the employee name that owns this value. You understand? So let me do it under this employee name. We want to pick this lookup value and Excel to tell us, find the name of the employee that owns this score, right? And I'm using the XLOOKUP, right? Already, we have seen in the other class, in the other sheet, how index match function can do that for us, right? But then in this particular one, we have this lookup. So what's our lookup value? That's what we are using, the value that we want to use as a reference, which is 33, right? Now, where we have issue is now here that we have lookup array. So lookup array does not mean that we'll select all the data sets now. It's asking us that lookup value, what is the array? What is the under what array, under what column is it? And that's where I didn't position well in the previous ones that was given error, right? The lookup value, you can see that this is lookup value. This is lookup array. That is the array of the lookup value. So if 33 is the lookup value, then the lookup array is under this particular array here, right? So I'm going to select everything here, right? And I'm going to lock it, right? Now, I can now go to the return array. What am I expecting to get? If I'm expecting to get the department of that person, then this will be my return array, everything. But if I'm expecting to get the employee name of that score, right? The employee that owns that score, this means that this is going to be my return array. Everything is an array. Array cannot be single number, right? And I lock it, and that's all, right? I'm going to close the bracket and say enter. And I have the name of the person who owns this score. Is that clear? Is it direct enough? So if I drag down, it's going to pick every other thing for every other person. So William Wigan owns this particular score. Simpson owns this particular score, and like that. Do we understand that? XLOOKUP. Do you understand XLOOKUP? Hello?
Yes, we understand it. It's just unfortunate that it's not on.
Bro Benga, please speak for yourself. We don't understand.
And that's why I want everybody to talk now, but he's the only one talking anyways. That's why I want to.
The
faster than
XLOOKUP is
I
fast.
did the refresher course.
Understood.
I had special courses.
I'm lost.
Oh, you're lost. Okay. How many people are lost also?
I'm here.
Okay, yeah, yeah. All right. Okay. Let's stop the class here. We can do a brush up revision in the next class, on Sunday. Then I was going to ask, Sunday is Easter Sunday. Would we be able to hold a class?
Whole class now, Sunday and Monday. There's public holiday.
Okay, that's what I want to ask. If Sunday will be very busy for June and everybody will be celebrating, I wanted to say, can we move it to Monday, same time on Monday, or we'll just hold it on that Sunday?
So let's maintain our Sunday.
All right, thank you. All right, so thank you very much. This is the class for today. I hope the little we have talked about, I hope we understand it, right? We didn't really talk much. We only talk about X, H, V, and index match function. Of course, in the course of explaining the index match function, we needed to explain the index function and the match function, right? I can't count the number of functions we have actually talked about, but then there are 1001 functions in Excel. There are many of them. So we can't be listing them to be picking them one after the other. Like I also said, there is no single Excel user that can boast of knowing all the functions in Excel, right? You only be using the ones that are particular to the kind of job you want to do, right? And that's why we can only select one or two things, right? But then the one we have mentioned, if you can master them, they are the ones that are very close to data analysis, right? And if you can master them, we'll be able to say that we are good Excel user and we'll be good to go at any time. All right, so if there's no question, the class is going to stop at this point, and we hope to meet together.
There's a question, sir.
All right, sir.
Now, if you, for example, when you are using a function,
yes, sir,
or you call up an argument, like that one that you were saying, what is the array? If you don't understand, the argument, like it was asking for the array when we missed it the first time, how then do you solve it?
So if you don't understand it, there's nothing you can solve. So you don't know it. That's all. When we started function, I said that using function is very simple, but one thing is very important. You must be able to provide answers to each of the arguments. And so if you don't know the answer to the argument, there's nothing you can do. Because that's what will determine argument is like Excel asking you a question. So if you ask a question, you don't know the answer, then Excel will not know what to do. You understand? So there's nothing. So we need to, that function that we want to use, we need to be familiar with the argument, the syntax. So by familiarizing ourselves with the syntax, it means that we are trying to add meaning to all the single arguments that make that syntax. And once we understand the arguments, we'll be good to go.
Okay.
You understand?
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. So let's call it a day in the absence of any question. I think I still have something I want to explain on this part also. Why these things didn't justify. All right, so I will note it also for that class. All right, thank you, everybody. We can call it a day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good night, sir. Good night, everyone.
Good night, sir.